coin sets, give us a call. Don't wait, place your orders, but we are going to now give you a look at our 1999 to 2009 proof state quarters in the original packaging. On sale, $50 off, 4 credit card payments of $37.49. You're gonna get the complete set proof state quarters with this one, the complete set proof DC and territorial quarters with this, and so much more. So walk us through this, because this is quite the presentation just by looking at it.
Well, the best way for me to explain this, and I do this when I sell our big proof set deals, which I don't have any right now. I don't have any of the big proof sets. You know, like by 30 years, 50 years, I mean, we're just out. I can't put them together. Is the United States government, when they first released the state quarters in 1999, it has been by far and away the most popularly collected coin set ever made by the United States government, is the United States state quarters. They started with Delaware, the very first state. They released 5 states per year, each coin made for about 10 weeks and 10 weeks only, then becoming a sold-out limited edition that was no longer available. Each state done in the order of statehood until we did all 50 states, ending with Hawaii, and then the United States government authorized the 6 territorial quarters that you see down there. Those are the 6 United States territories, including Washington, D.C. Territories and protectorates. So you got Guam, American Samoa, the Northern Mariana Islands, Washington, D.C. They're all in there, as you can see. Oops, they're upside down, though. Let me put those right side down. So you've got that. So when they came out, they were fantastically, amazingly, and tremendously popular. These are the proof coins. These were the presentation coins. Not a single solitary one of these was ever made, intended, or released into circulation. They only came in these sets. They are quite literally, oh, I think they're going to be in the neighborhood of 500 to 300 to 500 times rarer than the regular mint state coins. These are the presentation coins. These are coins that are made with the San Francisco Mint. So these were the coins that were so popular and so difficult to collect. So what we're going to do, and if I can, I gotta get over there in front of those, because I want to take these. I want to take these. Here's the two. The boxes here are exceptionally difficult to get in their own right. You can put that right down there. There we go. Those are the boxes. So you get the 11 boxes as well. These are sets of just the quarters. I can tell you right now, this box right here, empty, sells for about 20 bucks.
Really?
Yeah, because they made full proof sets, so you can get the lens. What you can't get is the box, because they only made so many of the single coin boxes. This is the rarest iteration of the United States state quarters, and they come with all of the original government packaging. So here's what I mean by I say buy it like a coin dealer. We're selling the entire set. It would be far more advantageous for me to take every single one of these, like this set right here, and put a little towel over it, put it down here, and take a hammer and smash each one of those corners, and pull this set out and sell these coins individually. I've done that with literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of these coins, if not millions of them. Because as you can see, if you do the math here, we're charging about $12.50 a set, which is less than the original government issue price of $20. Had you been buying them as the government released them, they were basically $20 a set. With the shipping in hand, we're like 12.50 bucks, 13 bucks a set. More importantly, I can take these and, like, here's a nationally advertised catalog. Here's somebody who does it, a coin dealer that does it. And the 2009s, they sell these coins for $6.95 a piece. So instead of $12, those are $7 times 6, that's 41 bucks. So instead of $12, they get $41. I should probably do that and get $41. It gets into be an even bigger deal for the 2008s. And that's why the box sells for so much, because this is the set. And these coins individually, 1850, 1850, 1850, 1850, and $25.
Well, there you have it.
There's your $149.95 right there.
Yeah.
These two bottom rows. That's $149 in there. Now I'm $50 off, so I have a $50 price break on this. You get to buy like a coin dealer. You buy it, because if you buy these individually, I mean, you start looking at some of these other coins. I mean, the 1999s, they're a mere $6 a piece. That's 30 bucks. 30 bucks. 30 bucks. 30 bucks. Yeah, they're all about 30, between $25 and $30 a piece for all those. So coin by coin. Once you look at these, so you have 9 times 30, 270, 370. So you're about a little over 400 bucks or so. you're $149.95. Now, more importantly, one of the other reasons they like to sell them individually is they don't have to provide the box. The box is a big deal. And if I may, I'm going to reach over there to grab one of the boxes, and one of the reasons the box is a big deal is, folks, it's cardboard. This is 13 years old. Cardboard does not wear well. And included in every single one of these also, you have to have the original certificate of authenticity. And there it is with all of the specifications of every single solitary one of the coins. So you get the original United States government proof sets in the original United States government packaging for less than the United States government charged originally for these coins. And people say, how can you do that? And I can say, gold coins, silver coins, dealers have these sets, but they want the new stuff. These are some of the most important and significant coins ever made by the United States government. I have them at less than original issue price, particularly at the price break. And so what I'm doing is giving you the opportunity to go back in what amounts to a numismatic time capsule and buy these coins. These are not the regular issue coins. Do not confuse these with the coins that you got at the change or the bank or the post office or wherever it is. These coins are San Francisco minted. They have the S mint mark. You can only get them in this packaging or if they started out in this packaging. That is the key consideration to these. The fact that literally $149 coin by coin only covers the bottom two sets. And so that's why you get this opportunity, this incredible opportunity to buy these sets like a coin dealer can buy these sets, because they buy the sets individually, then they open them up and they sell them coin by coin by coin. And what you end up with then is that $300 profit that's the difference between what they pay for it and what the coins are worth individually. Well, I'm giving you the opportunity, in essence, to capture and or keep, however you want to figure that out, that $300 difference between the individual coin prices and the set price that I am charging for these. And I'm including the original government packaging that you see over there on in front of Marlowe right there. That is every bit as difficult, actually even a little more difficult to get than the coins themselves. I think that's incredibly important for you to figure out, that the packaging, because it's cardboard, because it has the certificates of authenticity, is significantly more difficult to get than actually the coins. These are the proof coins. None of these coins, they're not the circulating coins, they're not the mint state coins. These are the presentation coins that are the hallmark of